Hey, good morning, Beth. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Also good. We might get to do one-on-one, you and me.
Oh my goodness.
You never know how it's going to roll out. There's a couple other people who said they're coming. Sometimes they come in afterward, but that's okay. I'm happy to see you.
Yeah.
We'll take all the time we have. Um, I wanted to first give you some new information. Are you ready for new information, or do you have a burning question you want to get to right away?
No, go ahead. I have some ideas, but I'm open to new information.
Okay, I know you always have good ideas, Beth, because you're always doing good work out there in the world.
Thanks.
That matters. In fact, you were on my list to call this week.
Okay.
Yeah, you were on my list to call this week because last time you and I spoke, the dates had changed, and I wasn't sure if you were aware that there's new dates again this year.
For the mastery training?
Yeah, and you asked me to get back to you about that. And I was like, okay, so I get to call Beth and let her know.
Okay.
All right. So mark that on my calendar. Now I've said it out loud, so I will definitely get to that. Okay, so welcome to our training. This is very exciting. I love doing it. I love doing it. Oh, we have a couple more people coming in. Let me let them in right now. Here we go. Okay, Jane and Michelle are here too. So good. Here we go. Oh, and Kubra's here. Cool. All right. Now that's kind of interesting how the settings are today. Hey guys, if you're just coming in, put yourselves on camera so we can see you. Oh, I know why. I can't see everybody if their camera's not on. Now I know why. The tech part's not my favorite part. All right. So Jane and Michelle, I think you told me that you're only here on audio today. Totally cool. Kubra, nice to see you. Please come on to camera so I can see you, so we can interact, because I have some good stuff to share with you today, and I want to hear from you and hear what you have on your mind, what questions I can answer for you. And for those of you who I haven't yet met, I just want to officially introduce myself. I haven't been doing that weekly. I'm Gina Schatz. I'm hosting you for the hour. I've been in the world of bodywork and movement for more than 29 years now. Yay! So bodies are my jam and everything about them. I tend to work on pain. You know, it's not a sexy topic, but that's really where my work initiates. Folks come to me when they're in pain and they want to get rid of it and eradicate it. And then we work on functional movement and all things anatomy, of course. And I'm the developer of the Schatz method, which is a super cool method of doing work, which I still use every week. I'm working with clients, and I also train other people to do that same method of body work too. So from all of that, I'm coming to you with my thoughts on some client stuff. And there's lots of amazing educators out there. And I like to think that I'm in good company and that they're in good company with me too. So anything that you hear me sharing with you is based on how I work and all of the experience that I have. Doesn't mean that there aren't other ways to do things. These are just the ways that I get them done, the way that I get, results to happen. So if you're just joining, please come on camera so that I can see you and we can interact. This is not like I'm going to sit back and watch and see if she knows what she's talking about. This is I'm going to get up in her face and ask her a question and see if she knows what she's talking about kind of hour. So please come on camera and let me see your beautiful faces. Something that came up this week, actually, that I said it twice. And so usually when I say it more than once, it's like, okay, I get to repeat it to the masses. And this is what came up this week. There were a few people that I was speaking to who were doing workout routines. They were either doing new workout routines, or they were working with a new trainer, or they were working on a new part of their body. They were already working out, meaning they are people who work out and are active. And there was something new about what they were trying to accomplish. And, sometimes that's different for different people. Like I said, new trainer, new workout, new gym, whatever. And in all of the cases, in both of these cases with these two people that I was speaking to, they weren't sure how it was working, if they were supposed to be in pain afterward, if they were supposed to see gains right away, if they were supposed to be sore an hour after their workout, no. If they were still supposed to be sore 4 days after their workout, and why they were sore but not seeing gains. So of course, I have an opinion about these things. And what I let them know was, in one instance, the person shared with me that they were not stretching. They were doing immense, they described their trainer as a beast mode. So they were doing amazing workouts. That's what they like. Okay, I'm not, I don't have any issue with that. And in this beast mode, they weren't doing any stretching. And if you've heard me talk for even 5 minutes, you know that I think that stretching is not a thing, right? Like there's no command from the brain that tells the body to stretch. There is a lengthening though in response to contraction. So sometimes I believe if trainers know that, then they think that they don't need to do any stretching because stretching happens if you contract. And that's just a lever system idea, right? Like if you contract one side of the lever, the other side naturally stretches or lengthens. And that's true. That's true. Except the critical piece that's missing there, all trainers and people who work out hear me on this. The piece that's missing is that once spindles are contracted, they can only contract again once they've been lengthened. So if they're not actively being lengthened, they can't contract again. There is no more gain to get. They've gotten the gain. They're at their place. They're contracted. They don't lengthen and then contract more. So there's an impedance in how much gain you can get unless you're doing active lengthening. And the way you do active lengthening is by working the lever system. So the last few weeks we talked about the body needs to be in alignment first before it can contract optimally, and that's true. So just because we activate the lever system and we contract one side of the lever system and then we contract the other side of the lever system and then lengthening should occur, should being the key word here, that's only true if there's also alignment present. Otherwise, the lever system can't function optimally. So there is no optimal lengthening, which means then there is no optimal contracting. So these two concepts really roll in together. There must be lengthening for a muscle to contract, and the lengthening and contracting must happen from an aligned perspective first, or the lever system isn't optimal. And so then there isn't the opportunity for there to be optimal length and contraction. So so is that landing? I can only see Beth. Is everybody else who's here nodding? I hope you're nodding. Okay. If this isn't landing for you, it's super important to get this. Hey, Jane, it's nice to see you. Super important to get this because if we're working with folks to get them gains, or we're not a personal trainer and we're working in some other way to get functional movement to occur, we can actually make it worse if we bring the muscle into its action without being in alignment, or if we bring the muscle into too much action and not balance the lever system function, right? So we need to have the concept of it must lengthen in order to contract, and then we need to know where optimal design is so that we can work within that optimal design and not make things worse. And that, my friends, is why I think you're all here every week, because we can take a concept like a token of an idea and run with it without the whole picture and actually make things worse, even though that token can actually be the ticket to results. So we want to take our tokens and we want to have a bigger picture, meaning a foundation of anatomy. And I know you guys hear me say that every week and you're like, Gina, I heard you the first 5 times. You'll hear me forever because we need to know all the ways that the body works. I'm just going to add to that. There's been some dialogue coming up actually in my mastery program, in the mastery level program that I run for practitioners. We meet every week, and there have been some conversations, more than, I think there's been 3 in the last 2 weeks, about fine nuances of movement and detailed ideas about biomechanics. I love that stuff. Love that stuff. That's like the best dinner time talk of all time, in my opinion. And if you get mired in the minutiae without having a baseline of function, I think that's a form of avoidance. You're basically avoiding knowing how things really work so that some folks choose to debate minutia ideas. And don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Have a really strong, eyes closed. I can see it in every joint, how the lever system works, and I can see alignment in the axis of the body, and then go into details of minutia. Otherwise, you're wasting your time because, again, if we don't have all the base and the function, we can make things worse. So for those of you who engage in conversation with me, you're usually anchored somewhere in pain or alleviating pain or optimizing function or all of the above. And again, I teach from the place that I work. So if I don't work in those minutia details, and I have the capacity to do so if I wanted to, it's because I don't find them to be as needed in pain reduction. They might be needed in other places, but if you're here to navigate pain and optimize function, I'm telling you, this is the stuff that works. Knowing the base function of the lever system and not getting hung up in other ideas about types of contractions, honestly, that's where it's at for me. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to cap that. Does that feel like a complete thought for you? You guys getting some good information there? Enough to be like, okay, I got you, Gina. I know what you're talking about. Now I know what to do about it. Yeah, Jane, you're nodding. How's that for you, Beth?
It's pretty good. I was just wondering if we could try to play that through in an example, I'm thinking you're talking about the person who's working out a lot. So perhaps they're contracting their biceps all the time, but not lengthening them.
Yeah. Well, the truth is that if your elbows go into extension, you're lengthening and contracting your biceps, no problem. But let's use a more probable pain spot. I'll do that with you, okay? And I'm just going to use my upper body, one, because it's common, and two, because you can see me, okay? So let's say, for example, someone's working their shoulder and chest, and this literally was the case that I just talked about. One of the two cases that I told you this week, that somebody was with a new trainer. And they're like, yeah, I've never really developed my chest. But I told my new trainer that I've never really developed my pecs. And so now we're on it. Now I'm really working shoulders. He says, I'm getting the tops of my shoulders and I'm getting my chest. Okay, awesome. Good. I'm glad you know where you want to optimize your, strength in your body, and all that's great. And what the trainer is not pinpointing is the alignment of this person's body. They do not have optimal posture. In fact, they have some dangerous posture, especially if you start bearing weight, And it's not only in a gym environment. It's the same for yogis. If you're doing a push-up, you're balancing your own weight. You're bearing weight, it's dangerous. If you're not in alignment, it's dangerous. And if you add external weight, really freaking dangerous. Like, I wouldn't do it. Okay, so this person stands with protracted shoulders and a lowered sternum. Okay, that's how they stand. So if you take the lever system idea and you try to contract here to make it stronger, it's already coming from a shortened perspective, right? So, and it's not in alignment, which means the joint's not safe.
Yeah.
And now you're going to add external weight onto that. In addition, the only way this muscle can get stronger on the anterior side of this joint is if these muscles are also lengthening and strengthening equally on a lever system, which they cannot be if the alignment looks like this. Can't be. This is lengthened, this is shortened. In posture, when does this get strengthened? Only when the alignment is there, and then we add contraction to those muscles. And we can break down all the muscles one by one, but just looking at the lever system perspective, the lever system will only work to make gains if there is equal length and equal strength on both sides of the lever. And that can only happen if you start from an aligned perspective. Adding more weight on top of it doesn't make it happen. In fact, it creates a potential for dramatic injury, especially on a 360 joint like the shoulder.
Got it.
Yeah? Solid example, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be like, can I come to your next workout and talk to your trainer for just 5 minutes before you guys get started? I mean, I like, just not because I want to be right, because I want the trainer to be right. I want this trainer who's working in beast mode with 2 guys who hired him privately to have an abundance of clients. And what I see happening, I have no crystal ball, but I have been in clinical practice for 29 years. What I see happening is this guy is going to come back to me with a shoulder something in a few weeks. And it's going to take him out of his workout. The trainer's not going to know what happened. The trainer's going to be not hired that week while somebody's recuperating, resting, and the trainer's not going to have money in their pocket that week, and they're not going to know why. All of that can be avoided. Okay. And story. It's not a rant. It's kind of ranty, but that, yeah. So that's what I see, that's what I see in movement and in function. And we all get to do what we do really well, right? That's why we're here, because we want to work with people. Okay. Any questions on my storyline for today? Okay. Lever system's where it's at. Alignment's got to be it. And contraction can only happen when lengthening happens as well. Must work the lever system. That's your takeaway for today. Good? Okay, excellent. Now I would love to turn the table over to you. So anyone who has a question, any client work that you're working on, any anatomy question that you have, anything that you tried that didn't quite work. I wanted to say this last week, actually, that I'm so excited that you guys come and share so openly. I mean, you guys really ask courageous questions, and it's awesome. And I hope that the environment here allows you to know that you don't need to have all the answers. We're here to figure them out together. Right? I'm not in any way quizzing you or testing you guys. I'm here literally to help you get to the next place, wherever you want to go. So if you've tried something and it didn't work, please just come with, as much transparency as you can, and just leave any self-judgment. If it should come up for you, just leave it aside, because it's not going to help you get the answer. And I'm certainly not in judgment. We just get to solve it. The thing is, when people have pain and injury, it's so unique that it's not textbook. So if you come to this conversation around pain and injury and think you're supposed to have the answer, you're kind of setting yourself up, because you're not going to have the answer, because everybody's different. Everybody's injury is completely unique. So we have baseline stuff about function, like I just described in lever system. That's black and white. That's in every book. But someone's pain is not in every book. It doesn't work that way. So please give yourself some latitude to not have the answers when it comes to navigating pain and injury in your clients. It would be almost impossible for you to have every answer, including me. I don't have every answer for pain and injury too. I just have hunches. So let me fill you up with some hunches based on what I know. Who has a question? Anybody? Jane, are you talking to me? Because you're muted. I see you talking, but I can't hear you. Oh, no, I don't see her. That's okay. Maybe she'll come back. Beth, do you have a client question or an anatomy question?
Yeah. So I have a client who has a lot of trauma in her past and a lot of physical pain. Like, gets up in the morning, it's an 8. As the day goes on, it's like 3 or 4. I think I talked about her in a previous session that you had, but she had a microdiscectomy at L5-S1, and she now has limited range of motion with spinal hyperextension. Mm-hmm. And I did talk to her physical therapist, and I asked her about that. I said, so can she do spinal hyperextension? Is that okay for her? And she said, oh yeah, that'll be good. So then, like, a few things happened with family, and we haven't seen each other in 2 weeks, so we'll see each other this week. So I'm wondering about, I think I need to do a better assessment with her. I focused so much on breath that I haven't really focused on her physical body yet, because she seemed like she had so much trauma, and like her nervous system was really out of whack from being in so much pain. So mostly we've just focused on breath. We haven't done movement. So in terms of assessment, would you say to watch how she walks, watch how she sits, look for just anything that's out of the axis. I did an intake as well, and she described all of her different pain points. What else would you do in terms of assessment?
Well, it depends on what your goal is. What are you trying to accomplish with her?
She said she wants a 30-minute yoga routine that she can do at home. She also likes chanting. She likes breath work. So I think those things are good to include for her nervous system because of the parasympathetic response. But she's also looking to get out of pain as well because she has this chronic pain.
So you guys are working on a couple things together.
Yes.
And what do you see as her need?
Well, I think the pain is dysregulating her nervous system, but I know it can go both ways. That trauma can issues in the tissues. I mean, that sounds trite, but I know that traumatic experiences can get lodged in our physical bodies, and I don't want to be out of my scope. I mean, I'm not a psychotherapist, but I do see the sympathetic. Again, overdrive seems a little like it's going overboard, but I see the imbalance between parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems. So I definitely want to support that parasympathetic response for her.
And what is your thought on her needs as it relates to her preference to be out of pain?
It seems really important.
Yeah. I didn't mean that. Like, I know your position on it, meaning that you want to serve her. What do you see from a corrective stance that she needs? What do you see that she doesn't see as the practitioner with the trained eye?
Oh, do you mean to strengthen?
Well, so for example, when I gave you the example of the guy who was working on building his chest, right? And I could see his alignment wasn't going to support his preference to get more gains in his chest, right? I can see that and he couldn't see that because I have the trained eye to see that. So my question for you is, what are you seeing for her that she doesn't see yet?
Well, I think sitting and standing in the axis is really important.
For her?
I think so, yeah.
You think, or you know?
I know.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm putting you on the spot a little bit because I know you've trained with me a lot. So I get to do that with you. So just to let everybody else know who's like hidden on camera right now, like, oh shit, she's going to ask me questions. No, it's because Beth and I, we've been at this for a while together. So I get to probe you in that way because I know what you know. So the short answer to your question, Beth, without going through the whole assessment with your client here, the short answer is that from a Johari's window perspective, they come to you and say, this is my history and this is what I want. And we come to the session also seeing something that they don't yet see. So when you ask me, what would I do for assessment? I would go there. I would look for all the things that she doesn't yet see. The other thing that's super important, and we talk about this a lot in the training program, is the idea, are you seeing her, you Beth, are you seeing this client in her wholeness, or are you seeing her hurt and in pain?
That's a really good question because I think when she first came and did the intake and told me about the trauma and the pain, I mean, it was big. So I had a little bit of a like, whoa. And then, so now I'm at the point where I'm back to that, seeing the whole person, not just a body in pain.
Are you seeing the whole person, or are you seeing her whole? Meaning past where she is now and where she wants to be?
I think not in the most intentional way. So I'll make a note of that.
I would start there. I would really start there because it's really easy to get enrolled in pain. Really easy to get enrolled in pain to the point where you start questioning yourself, and then who's running the session? not you or the client, the pain is. Okay, well, the pain doesn't have the answer. So pain has information, but the pain doesn't have the answer, right? And it's really easy. In fact, one of my mastery practitioners, literally the week before graduation, I think you guys have heard me say this story, and I obviously I'm not going to drop names, but we've talked about it openly. The pod of practitioners were all working together, and one of the practitioners with knowledge, like a week from graduating after a year-long intense program, right? Super fucking smart and very talented. Still, the person in pain, the practitioner, was so convinced about the answer and so attached to the pain, because that's what pain does. It attaches us. There's no judgment there. That's what it does. It's almost like fact. That the other practitioners who were removed, who were serving, like us as practitioners serving our clients, started believing the symptoms of the practitioner and got themselves off track about what they know. Luckily, they were open and honest, and we all brought it back to an amazing training opportunity. We all got to learn from, and we got to see, oh my gosh, we could get ourselves off track. What could our clients do? Right? So it's a real thing. There's no judgment here. I'm just drawing your attention to it, that if we fail to see them healed, then they're not yet going to be in our presence, no matter what tips I give you. So I would definitely start there. And if that's not possible for you, and not every client is possible to make that happen, sometimes they don't need us. If there's a person in front of me who presents with certain history and symptoms and a goal, and at any point I can't see them as reaching that goal as whole and healed, then I'm not their person. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm honest about it. I'm like, you know what? I would do anything to be able to help you. And I know that I'm not capable of that. And in fact, I really believe that there's another opportunity for you here with a different type of modality, or with a different practitioner, or with something else first, and then come back to me after you're at this place. I'm very honest with them about that. And I think there's a problem. Well, that's the wrong word. I think there's a potential for practitioners to doubt themselves. That's why we talk so much about professional development in my mastery program. I think we doubt ourselves to the point where we aren't even confident about what our capability is. Because if we're not confident about what we're capable of, then we're not confident about when we're not capable and when to refer out. And that's kind of a selfish perspective, because that means that we're not really present to what the client needs. We're kind of wrapped up in our own stuff. I'm not saying you're selfish. I'm just offering this as information. We talk about this a lot. It's part of being a master level practitioner, or a practitioner with a lot of knowledge. They're different. It's like one more step, So I would strongly encourage you to go there, Beth, because in the process of getting there, of seeing her whole, you will watch yourself, drop shackles of things that were holding you back from your own confidence before.
Got it. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes, of course. Okay, let's see. Anybody else here want to come on camera? Anybody else have a hot seat question? Otherwise, we're going to give Beth another chance to ask another question, and maybe it'll be a short and sweet one today. Okay, so while you guys are deciding whether you're going to come on camera and hot seat with me, which I would love, I just want to make sure that I remember to say this, which I didn't say last week. We have a masterclass coming up on Thursday. I'm hosting a masterclass on pain, actually. It just came up. I can't even believe I just pieced that together, literally in live moment. Yeah, the masterclass on Thursday is on pain types. So there's different types of pain that all require different from us approaches. And so if we know what type of pain we're working with, we know what approach will be the most effective, and we know what approach to avoid that could actually exacerbate the pain. And sometimes until we really kind of iron that out, we're not really even clear. We just think all pain's pain. But if following this formula brings up some clarity for you, it'll really change the way you approach your clients and the pain that they come in with. In fact, this material that I'm sharing in the masterclass on Thursday, the only other place I've ever shared it is inside the mastery program. And it's so valuable. And we end up weaving it from the very beginning of the program all the way through to the end of the program, that it dawned on me, oh, you know what? I can give that to you guys, because it's got so much legs. Is that the right way to say it? It's got so much leg to it, that I thought it would be really valuable. So this Thursday, I'm teaching that masterclass on pain types, what they are, what the differences are, how to approach each one of them. And we put that masterclass, which is live on Thursday, in a bundle with 2 other masterclasses that I taught during the summit, also on pain. So we talked about fascia and we talked about referral pain. So we're putting all 3 of those masterclasses together in a bundle, all for $49. And if you can't come live on Thursday, it's not a problem. You'll still get the recording to all 3 classes. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew that was happening. And I get it that the 2 classes already happened and then this 3rd one's happening. And so I get it that sometimes that doesn't translate in writing. So I'm just giving you some verbiage on that as we speak. If you're interested in those master classes, even one of them, there's like basically 3 for what I usually charge for one. So if even one of them appeals to you, definitely let me know that. Either drop me an email, you can leave a comment underneath this video, like wherever you want to get in touch with me about that, or just check your inbox. If we have your email address, we've probably sent you an email about it already. So the masterclass is this Thursday, the 15th of July, live. Don't have to come live, but certainly if you do, you get to ask questions. And after this masterclass, the bundle is all 3 masterclasses together, all for $49. So I want to make sure that you guys knew that was happening. And if you have any questions, let me know. I hope to see you all there. Anybody else here today interested in sharing a question with me? Anybody want a hot seat? Anybody? I'm seeing no hands go up. Okay. Beth, do you have another question? You usually come with a couple questions. I'm happy to answer another one. Yes?
So this question is actually about myself, but I have a feeling that, I can apply this knowledge to clients as well.
Always. Yeah.
So I often feel like my hamstrings are tight, and I've started to wonder, like I had assumed that they were contractile tight.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm starting to wonder if they're tensile tight.
Okay.
Because I lengthen hamstrings a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And from all our lever system talk, I'm mindful to contract my quads.
Nice.
But I don't see any change in that sensation of tightness, or maybe it's for a very short period of time and then it goes back. I'm also aware that I'm sitting right here and I'm doing a fair amount of sitting, and whether it's in a chair or cross-legged, my knee is bent, so my hamstring is contracted.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering how to differentiate between the contractile and tensile tightness in my hamstrings.
You're wondering what the sensation difference is between them?
I'm wondering how to assess if it's contractile or tensile, because then I would approach it differently, right? If it's tensile tightness, then I would want to focus on more hamstring strength, which I did start experimenting with.
How'd that go?
I was really sore.
Mm-hmm.
So that feedback was making me think that, oh, maybe it is
Mm-hmm.
the tensile versus the contractile.
Right. Why would that give you an idea that it might be tensile instead of contractile?
Because if I'm really sore, that tells me that I'm lacking some strength in
Exactly.
hamstrings.
Exactly. Right. And so for those of you who we haven't talked to before, the reason why Beth and I are talking contractile and tensile stress is because she learned that in one of our courses, maybe more than one, Beth, because we've talked about it a lot. I can't even remember how many different courses you've taken, so many with me, and how many we talk about contractile and tensile stress. But that is a real differentiator when it comes to pain, and also treatment plans. To your point, if something is under tensile stress, we don't want to release it and stretch it. That would be contraindicated, actually. And if something is under contractile stress, we need to lengthen it. We need to move the spindles away from each other. So knowing that can completely change not only the results, but also what you do to get to those results. And that's really important, really important. So I love that you're there, Beth. I love that you're there. And your troubleshooting is perfect. To your point, if you contract spindles and they respond as if they've just taken on twice the load that you gave them, like, oh my gosh, that was so hard, then they're not contracting, which is probably, to your point, more of an indication, not 100%, but more of an indication that they're lengthened, tensile, than contracted. However, there's another type of pain which we talked about, and that could be that the spindles just aren't under tensile stress, but they haven't contracted. Right? So it might be something in the middle too, where it's not completely under tensile stress, but they're just weak from not having contracted. And truthfully, I'm not going to be able to assess that for you, even though I can see you right now. I'm not going to be able to assess that for you unless I see you move and I see the tissues themselves. So I'm going to give you some ideas to toss around. And these are the same ideas that I would toss around working with clients.
Okay.
First of all, I have to see them. Doesn't have to be in person. I can work remotely and, over camera like this, just not face to face. I have to obviously see your body and see you move and test a few things and ask for your feedback and what you're feeling sensation wise. Sensation wise, it's different, but not dramatically different, right? Because the body doesn't have language like we do. It doesn't have complexity in language. It gives, sensations. One sensation can mean a couple different things. So there is a subtle difference in quality. If your client can tell, some of them can, some of them can't. It's not a problem. But there's a subtle difference in quality between something that is under contractile stress and something that is in tensile stress. And it also varies mobility wise. So we talk about mobility, hypermobility, and hypomobility in the mastery program. We also talk about it in other courses that I offer because it's such a big deal. And folks who are under the influence of hypermobility tend to have a little bit more irritation and burning. And they also tend to have more tensile stress than someone who's hypomobile. So just know that out of the gate. When you said that you are stretching and that you are lengthening your hamstrings a lot, when you take your hands to the floor, or when a client takes their hands to the floor and their palms touch down, that is maximum length of hamstrings. So does that necessarily mean they're under tensile stress? No. Does it mean that they're hypermobile? No, but it can. So just, again, there's no one answer if you're getting that from what I'm saying. There's no oh, it's always this. The way I would assess it is lots of information that it's like collecting evidence to get to a verdict kind of thing. So if someone can touch their hands to the floor and their hamstrings lengthen, great. Is that a possibility of hypermobility? Yes, but not mandatory. And what sensation are they feeling? Sometimes people don't feel anything in their hamstrings when they're lengthened. They only feel sensation in their hamstrings when they're compressed, like when they're sitting, but not when they're moving. And then I would do exactly what you already said. I would check the lever system to see if there's any strength in them. And strength doesn't necessarily mean tensile, but it could. Lack of strength can also mean atrophy, but it can also be out of alignment. Right? If the lever system, which we started our talk today talking about, if the lever system is not aligned in the axis, there is no way to optimally contract and lengthen. And in that, somebody who's active, like regularly doing yoga, able to touch their hands to the floor, but not hypermobile, they could be irritating muscle tissue, the same way our protracted scapula guy doing bench presses could be irritating muscle tissue by not being in alignment and using optimal function when they're working those tissues. So we go all the way on the pendulum swing from this person hasn't worked out enough and their atrophy to the potential of there's a misalignment and that's why there's tensile stress to there's just misalignment and an improper use of function at the joint. And then a few other tips and tools that I would look for, like, is there a tendon response at the attachment point? Is that what's causing irritation? Is the Golgi tendon organ pulling so much that it's creating this irritation in the muscle spindles as if it's under tensile stress, but it's actually the tendon that needs to be released?
How do you determine that?
PNF.
You just
remember the
PNF?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't yet know PNF, Highly recommend it. It's one of the quickest, easiest tools that you can use for not only correction, but assessment, and you can't create any problem if you do it right. And if your body's in alignment. And if you want to know how to do that and you don't yet, I have a master class. I taught that. And again, we go over that at length in the mastery program too. That is a really useful tool that you can do not only in person with someone, but also remotely. I taught that master class remotely and everybody was workshopping it out. So it's one of those tools. If you don't have that one in your toolbox, I think everybody needs to have that in their toolbox, whether they're movement or manual practitioners. Got to have that one. And I know you have that, Beth, because you were at that master class. So try that one too. So there's a couple. My point is, in all of this, there's a few different things. Hopefully, I've helped you, get at least a plan of action out in front of you, and I would try all of them and see what the answer is. If you find that there isn't a, like, let's say, for example, one of the tools doesn't do the trick. It's not just PNF that'll release the Golgi tendon organs and poof, you're fixed, magically fixed, and you're on with your life. Then there's probably a function. And it might be the position of your pelvis when you're bearing weight. It might be the position of your innominence when you're doing, asymmetrical movement. There might be something more complex too. And I'm not meaning to make this complicated. I'm letting you know it goes with the symptom. Yeah, the scope, exactly. The scope of the symptoms that you're bringing me go from simple and quick and fast to a little more complicated. And this is a great teaching opportunity for all of us. When your clients come in with a pain problem, that's the point. It's complicated sometimes. So you get to give yourself a minute, take a breath and not rush yourself into having all the answers right away or punishing yourself if you don't, because what that does then when you get into that mind space about, I don't know what I'm doing, then you're not even present with them. Just stay curious. Just be like, I don't know, is it this? I don't know, is it that? The good news is that every time we take someone through any of our assessments of optimal function or optimal use of the lever system or PNF, all it does is improve their awareness and quite possibly can even give them some, amazing sensations in their body that are positive that they'll take with them. So there's nothing wrong with going through the gamut and doing all these simple to complex tests. I would say assessments more than tests. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you're efficient at doing them, it won't take a whole lot of time. I mean, you could spend a good 10 minutes in a 60-minute session trying to figure out what the problem is, but they're getting something out of those 10 minutes if you're using the tools the right way. So again, like we said at the beginning, you got to know a lot about functional anatomy so that what you're doing is not costing them or spending their time. And definitely don't tell yourself that. That's not a fair conversation to have. But you want to be able to be really proficient in your functional anatomy so that everything you're running through doesn't take the whole hour, so that you can get onto the, the remedy of whatever that person in front of you needs.
Got it.
Good? Is that offer something to work with? Okay, so you get to go do all that and come back and let us know what worked, okay? Okay, awesome, Beth.
Thanks.
Great questions. Okay, Jane, so I see that you came back on camera, which is awesome. Do you have a question? And anyone else here, Joan, it's nice to have you here. Jane, Beth, somebody here on a cell phone. I don't know if that's you, Michelle, because I know you were working on your internet today. If anyone else here has a question, please let me know and I will hot seat you. Otherwise, we'll have that be our wrap for today and we'll wrap it up. Okay, so I want to let you know that I am going to be here next week again. Yay, because I can't get enough of you guys. An hour goes by so fast, doesn't it? It's like fun. It's like super fun. So I am going to be here again next week. Next week, though, I'm moving the date on Monday because I have another obligation, a training that I'm committed to on Tuesday, which I'm super jazzed about. And it gets to be both. I get to do both, but not at the same time because that would be, I can only get one Zoom link open at a time. So we're going to move our meeting next week. This meeting, we're going to move it to Monday at 11 instead of Tuesday. And of course, I'll send you guys an email to remind you of that, but just mark your calendars now to know that Monday is the day for next week. Okay. And I look forward to seeing you then and there. Bring me all your hot burning questions because I love answering them. Love, love, love. And thank you so much for doing all the great work that you're doing out in the world. You're making the world a better place from all the dedication that you have to your industry and all of the conscientious work that you're doing. So on behalf of your clients and all of your colleagues, I want to give you a high five and a big, huge gratitude hug. And also let you know that I'm super proud to be colleagues with you, because you show up every week, which means that you're investing in yourself. And I love that. I love that. So until next week, I'll see you guys again soon. Have a really great week. Ciao for now.